You are about to view a short film that is probably not like any film you've watched recently. This short film exists as an exploration into the mind of its creator, ｃ흔đ. On the surface, this appears to be a simple biography, and that is probably what most people will think of upon viewing it. On top of it being an exploration into the mind of its creator, it is also, on the side, a exploration into society's reactions to one person's trauma and his experiences with it. I thank you for considering these upon viewing this short film, and I thank you for viewing it. Good day. Let me tell you a story about how I got here, sitting here, with a scarred leg. 2 weeks after I was born, I found out that I did not have a fibula bone. My parents had either two options, either amputation or find a doctor that could reconstruct it. After 5 months of searching, and 3 doctors saying amputation was the best possible option, my parents found a doctor. But there were many people that helped me build this story. Let's introduce them. But first, let's introduce me.
He's beautiful.
He's missing a toe. We need to get an x-ray of him ASAP. We might have a serious problem. I was born with fibular hemimelia. My parents had only 2 options, which was either to choose amputation or to find a doctor that could reconstruct it. After about 5 months of searching, they did find a doctor that could reconstruct it. But there's more to be seen. I should introduce the other people that helped me build the story. Let's introduce them.
There's my parents, my stepfather, and my 2 sisters, all of which have both good and bad parts to play in my story. Let's start off with my father. Born in Germany, and the son of a Korea and Vietnam veteran, and also the son of a kind but strict mother. He would be diagnosed with early onset arthritis at just 13 years old. He is a deeply flawed man. He would have, as of today, 40 surgeries. He would struggle with addiction later on in his life, and especially when we moved to Flagstaff. Now let's talk about my mother, born to a Vietnam veteran and a kind mother. She would go on to be the commander of the Public Health Service, a role she still has as of today. Now let's talk about my stepfather. Born in Iraq and getting a doctorate in biochemistry, he is a gentle giant. Now let's talk about my two sisters. The oldest of which is training to be a cartoonist and animator, and the youngest of which is, well, she's still figuring things out. Now let's talk about me. I was born on December 27th, 2001, in Baltimore, Maryland. We would later move to Farmington, New Mexico. It is there I would find two main interests, Lego and technology. I would also develop a love of basketball and swimming.
It was also where my love of video games came from. This is also where I get a love of cats and get my first pet I took independent care of. Her name was Ashes. It was all pretty good. When I was about 10, my parents introduced me to some of the more ugly aspects of reality. Two of these were alcohol abuse and divorce.
My parents promised me two things, that they would never get a divorce and that they would never drink. Oh, how naive I once was. 2011 was a confusing year for me. Not only was it the year I got a new sister, but it was also the year my life seemed to start going downhill with no clear signs of stopping. Although my father got off the alcohol pretty easily, he returned to another substance that would haunt him to this day. We lived in an RV for the first 3 months we lived in Flagstaff before we moved into a house. And let's just say things got confusing. We moved into a house in late November, but then something happened to my father. Stuff I don't understand at the time. He was getting sick and was in and out of the hospital pretty often. And one day, I remember, we were eating dinner, and it was raining outside, and he went outside, and he started to throw up, and he kept throwing up. And I began to ask myself, why is Dad having me on his medication? And why is he constantly in and out of the hospital? And one day, he just kinda left. Before, I don't understand pretty much anything that happened. It confused me then, and it still confuses me today. For roughly the next year, we would see him about an hour at the end of every day at a hospital. And one day, he visited us at a Best Western Inn. I would later learn that one of the most important events in my life was decided at that Best Western Inn. I can't remember everything that happened because it was so long ago, but this is something you can't entirely forget. Roughly 6 months after the Best Western visit, my father came over to our house, and me and my sister were called into our living room, and our mother came there too. They sat us down and told us that they were getting a divorce. It's so hard for me to remember that horrible day. Aside from the fact that I screamed at them, "You don't have to do this," over and over again, and over and over again. The other thing I can remember is that the next day I felt a deep, hopeless dread that kinda never left. But for the first year of it, it wasn't that bad. It wouldn't be very hard. The same year, we wouldn't have the stereotypical two Christmases you would expect from a divorced parents and their children. However, that would not last. Over the years, and in 2016 roughly, things would get more and more confusing. I would have a surgery, and that would be the same year my mother married my stepfather, which would lead to everyone having a grudge against everyone. The biggest problem that my biological family had was that my stepfather was Islamic. Although the marriage would bring up some issues, most of the problems came from him being Islamic. The problem with ending a story like this is that it doesn't have a resolution. It's in what film buffs call falling action, where the hero is in his darkest hour. However, we can at least have hope that things will get better. Over the years, things would get more and more confusing until we reach today. As of when I'm writing this, my stepfather and my mother are at least mostly happily married. And most people in my family still have some problems with their marriage and him being Islamic. But let's not forget about the future. Even though my current family life has no clear signs of improving, like I said, we must not forget the future. I plan to go to our local community college, where I plan to transfer to a more dedicated university. And after that, I hope to transfer to the California Institute of the Arts. And after that, well, we can only dream.